This book was severely water damaged as part of the flood, and you can sort of see the way that the covering cloth on the book is warped and no longer attached. So what we're going to do for exhibit is to very carefully take it apart. These original sewing threads are going to stay in the box with the book.
We were very fortunate to be able to hire 2 conservators and 2 conservation technicians to carry out the treatments and all of the aspects of the documentation that needs to be done.
This is a ring binder from the Iny School. There's about 200 of these ring binders. Almost all of them got wet during the flooding. So we have to remove them from what's left of the ring binder, which is not much.
Most of our collection has a lot of mold on it. This actually appears to be caked on soil. One of the most unique things about this book are the hand-drawn illustrations in the front of what appear to be mythical creatures, a griffin, and luckily we found what appears to be the missing section of this illustration that the conservators will then reattach.
There is a librarian on the team, and her role is critical because she has language skills and also the bibliographic knowledge that others on the team don't have.
This is the oldest book that we found in the collection, the Book of Writings, or in Hebrew, the Book of Ketuvim. It's just a really lovely book. It's held up really well for being over 400 years old.
This is the text of the Book of Psalms, and then surrounding it on this side is the commentary of the medieval rabbi Ibn Ezra.
We've already done mold removal with a HEPA filter vacuum, but there's still some more deeply embedded surface grime on the paper that I'd like to clean up before we start washing. What I'm using for surface cleaning is a kind of a sponge called a soot sponge or a chemical sponge. It was developed for cleaning soot or ash off of fire damaged materials.
The title page is currently in 3 pieces. So with this book, we're going to vacuum it to get the mold off of it, disassemble it. It'll look much more complete when it's finished.
You can really see the water damage, possibly from the flood in Baghdad. I'm hoping that the bath will reduce or eliminate this tide line. We only have 4 or 5 sections in the bath already, but you can see that the discoloration is coming out into the water. I have never watched a book this gross before.
The easiest way to get all of the pieces to unfold, lay flat, and fit together is to line it with a very thin Japanese tissue and paste. You have to test the media, all the different inks on the page, to make sure that they aren't going to run or get damaged. So the first test is to take a very thin piece of blotter, wet it up with a dot of water, and blot against the ink. And as you progressively get a larger and larger area with solvent, you'll see if the ink is reactive.
There are a lot of revenue stamps in the collection that got loose when the water event happened. If we can figure out where they are, we replace them with methyl cellulose as we go so that we don't lose them. Then we do mold remediation, flattening, put them in dock boxes and folders, and then they get scanned.
The first step to doing a wet lining is spraying up the paper so that everything is very relaxed, so that I can align all of the tears and get all of the pieces to fit back where they originally were. This is a precipitated wheat starch paste. The next step is brushing this very thin tissue out. I lay the tissue paper down on the object, and then I squeeze out all of the air bubbles and most of the excess water. After I turn it over, I can remove the Hollytex that I had been using as a support, and then I bring a blotter over to remove the excess moisture and start the drying process.
The entire book went through 5 baths, and the final bath had almost no yellow, so I knew that most of the acidic contamination had been washed out of the book. I can already see that the very dramatic tide line that was there when we started the bath is gone. After washing it and mending it and repairing all the folds, it's finally strong enough to be rebuilt as it was originally. This is a traditional sewing frame, and it's a way of holding the linen cords in perfectly straight lines so that you can sew each gathering of the book onto them. When a book is sewn, of course, the threads are up at the inside the fold of each gathering, and so a book is fatter at the spine than it is in the rest of the text block. And what that does is it makes a book kind of wedge-shaped. So in traditional bookbinding, the text block is further shaped in what's called a job backer, this machine. I'm looking to make certain that the book is swelling evenly from both sides. I'm not going to do that much shaping on the book because my book is old and fragile.
After mold remediation, we took the illustrated frontispiece. These pieces will be moved back into their location based on the lines of the illustration, mended on the back side. We have numerous bags of fragments containing everything imaginable in this collection, and we sifted through all of the fragments, but unfortunately we didn't find any more of the illustration, but it took us about 20 hours just to go through them.
Now it's dry, and the tissue is holding all of the 3 pieces together. I'm going to go in and fill these losses here and the holes here. In order to get all of the custom fills for these losses, we make what we call a map. And it's on Mylar, and that is what we use to put tissue on top of and cut out all of these tiny fibers. On exhibit, this will look like it is a whole piece of paper.
So this is the book almost completely done. The last stage will be to put on the title, and it's been cased into a new case with new end papers. And this is the page that will be exhibited, the title page.
The National Archives has truly devoted years to this project. It's really been a labor of love for a lot of people who have wanted to see this material transformed and made widely available.